Hi everyone, Kate here with another Victober video, and today I want to talk to you about Victorian novels set at the seaside. I had this idea last year when I realized I had a list of 9 books to recommend to you, or rather 8 books and one that I'm hoping I will not be defeated by and I will actually finish. I will start with that one first, and it is The Clever Woman of the Family by Charlotte Mary Yonge. Charlotte Mary Yonge is this author that I have a mixed relationship with. So I have thoroughly enjoyed both The Heir of Redcliffe and Heart's Ease. I did enjoy The Daisy Chain, but her books can have a rather didactic feel to them. And The Daisy Chain had a lot of chapters that were like, here's another lesson we learned. And let's sit and think about the lesson, kind of that sort of feel to it. So The Clever Woman of the Family, though, it doesn't have that feel so much as sometimes she has this sort of impenetrable quality to her writing, and I feel kind of at a loss as I'm reading it. But as I'm recording this video, I'm already growing in motivation to finish The Clever Woman of the Family. I'm filming this video in August. Maybe by the time that this goes up, I will have finished it. That would be a nice challenge for myself. But the reason that I especially wanted to read The Clever Woman of the Family was twofold. One, I thought after the interview that I was able to do with 2 Charlotte Mary Yonge / Victorian literature scholars, and they just made her work sound even more interesting. And they both very much enjoyed The Clever Woman of the Family, and it's just a very interesting novel to analyze and study. It is set at a community at the seaside, and there are these 2 households basically of exclusively made up of women. And the way that when new people come to visit them in this community, how everything is kind of shaken up and how they all deal with it. But it just it's dragging a little bit. I think I'm around 100 pages in, and it is feeling like it's dragging a bit. But already I'm growing in motivation to continue on with it. It might pick up. And there are some intriguing elements of the plot that I want to know what's going to happen with them. And the next one, though, that I have read and loved and did a whole rave review of last year was In the Roar of the Sea by Sabine Baring-Gould. And I still don't know if I'm saying his name right. It might be Sabine, because in The Prelude by William Wordsworth, when I listened to the audiobook, he said that name Sabine, the narrator did. So please, someone who knows, I would love to know. But this book, the seaside is such a character. It is such a part of this story. It would not feel like it could be anywhere else but set at the seaside. And it is this little insular community, and it also involves a real historical figure who was a smuggler, and the ways that he brings some big changes to this community and makes life really hard for some of the characters, including our leading lady, Judith, who is one of my all-time favorite characters now. I absolutely adore Judith, and she was one of the main reasons I loved this book so much. But there's a real palpable feel to this book, and it is just such a page-turner, and I think that it just had this real atmosphere to it, but it also had some humor in it, so it was a little bit Dickens, but definitely had this very intense brooding atmosphere to it, so it felt a little bit Bronte. Just this special kind of all-in-one amazing book, and it ended exactly like I would have wanted it to. So altogether, just I was elated after I finished it. And the next one on the list is Treasure Island. This is, partly seaside and partly just the sea. And I went into Treasure Island with very low expectations. I think because it is so iconic, I just thought it can't live up to my expectations of it. And I was just so blown away by this book. I think because it is action-packed, but it has very interesting characters. And you don't often get that. Often the characterization is sacrificed for the sake of the plot. Or often when someone wants to go so deep into the characterization, the plot is somewhat sacrificed. And this was a beautiful marriage of the two, and it is a swashbuckling adventure, and there is so much that happens in this story. I found that as an audiobook, I wasn't sure that I was kind of remembering every single thing that happened. But my friend Becky, who read, I think she read the physical copy of it, was like, no, it's just a lot happens in it. So I'm already very much looking forward to reading this with Peter at some point in the future. It was an amazing book. So lots and lots of fun. And the next one is Sylvia's Lovers by Elizabeth Gaskell. This is her most tragic book. So buckle up. It's going to be, you know, a sad ride. And I think that you have to be prepared for it to be sad, and also that there will be kind of North Country dialect. It is off-putting to some readers. For some reason, the dialect in this one is not off-putting to me. I was kind of able to just roll with it. And I think that Gaskell's nature writing is at its finest in this, which it makes me so sad that she died so young, because she could have had 3 or 4 more amazing novels that she could have written. And I just always wonder, what would she have written next? Because her novels all have such a different feel to them. But Sylvia's Lovers is definitely kind of a star-crossed lovers story, and set in this little community, and is excellent. And then also the next one that has a very similar feel to it is The Welsh Witch by Raine. This is in on a technicality. It was published in 1902, but I say that means it was at least probably written in 1901, so I just count it as a Victorian novel. And this is set in Wales, and is all about kind of what superstition and small town gossip can do, and the damage that it can cause. And Catherine is kind of an outsider in this community, and so they refer to her as the town witch. And one of the things that's interesting is, and I think there could be so many interesting academic papers written about this book, because part of the reason she's called a witch is her deep innate connection to the nature that she lives around in. And there is even one location on the island that no one else knows about, but she knows about it. And I find that so interesting. So I am just really wanting to reread A Welsh Witch at some point, and I highly recommend it if you want some high drama. And this one is less tragic than Sylvia's Lovers. So if you want kind of a similar feel, otherworldly kind of feel, then I would recommend that. And the next one that is partially set at the seaside in this case is David Copperfield. So for those of you that have not read David Copperfield, it is about the title character and his life story. And he has a maid who is like a second mother to him, Peggotty, and she has family that lives in Yarmouth, and they have this old ship that they live in. And it is just such a memorable location and house for this family to live in, this old ship. And whenever David is there, he has just very fond memories of it, except for certain events that happen later in the book. But it just really captures his imagination and just makes very vivid memories for him. So, and some crucial elements of the plot happen here. So I can't picture David Copperfield without there being some seaside times within it. And the next one is The Fisherman's Lady. This is by George MacDonald. Now, I have read the kind of more modern translation of it per se. It is written, a lot of it in Scottish, and I don't think I could, you know, kind of do the original dialect. But I have read the more modern one that I think it was in the 90s this came out. And it is a small community, and the one note that I've always remembered is when our main character, Malcolm, sees the woman who he falls in love with on the beach for the first time. She's on the beach reading The Fairy Queen. And so that kind of cemented in my mind, like, one day I will read The Fairy Queen. And now to be reading The Fairy Queen is really, really fun. So I definitely recommend The Fisherman's Lady. It has a little bit of romance, a little bit of mystery, and it's also got some humor in there. I love that at the very beginning of the book, there is someone who is every day supposed to wake up everyone in the town. So that's how small and quaint this little community is. And then the next one is Maude, The Diary of a Victorian Lady. And I like to hold it up when I talk about it because it is very visual. And she lived on the Isle of Wight, which Queen Victoria did have a house there. So the Isle of Wight, if you look it up, it looks, I mean, what a place to be raised in. I'm sure every place that you live in can feel ordinary if that's where you've always lived, but it doesn't in this. And yes, here they are all having a picnic by the seaside. So this is not a novel, but a diary. And it's a real woman, Maude Berkeley, who lived on the Isle of Wight. And so I love the mentions of the seaside and the times that she and her friends would go walk by the seaside. And then lastly, one that absolutely blew me away was Grania. This is an Irish novel, and it's totally got this otherworldly feel that I love in Victorian literature when I want to feel very deeply, when I want to just have all of the intense emotions pouring out of the page. This is one of those, along with how I mentioned with Sylvias Lovers and A Welsh Witch. This is set in Ireland, and it is, Grania feels so isolated and so just, she has no agency. She has no say in what's going to happen with the rest of her life. And you have such empathy with her as a character. I think she's such a strong character. This one is not a happy-go-lucky book, so just go in knowing that. I feel like you should be somewhat prepared. And but it is so powerful. I think it's not even 250 pages, and it still has stayed with me so vividly. It has packed such a punch. So I really hope that others would read it and enjoy it. And yes, Grania is such a special book. So those are the Seaside Victorian novels that I wanted to recommend to you. Please let me know if I forgot any, because I would really be interested to have more to add to the list. I find the Seaside to be a setting with books that makes them extra memorable. And I will be back with another Victober video soon, and thank you everyone for watching. Bye!